Have you ever had an introduction go horribly wrong? Well, after living in Russia for 2 years, I learned my initial greetings could be unintentionally disrespectful, instantly ruining conversations. So in this video, I'm going to show you 10 easy, safe, and native-sounding greetings perfect for any situation, helping you comfortably avoid these embarrassing mistakes. To start, let me give you the safest and most common greeting, and that is Здравствуйте. Yes, it's a mouthful. It's got all those Russian gutturals. This is a Russian-sounding word. Now, if you know that word, stay with me because I'm going to give you 2 nuances, which you probably don't know. But if you're new to Russian, I'll give it to you one more time. Здравствуйте. That is the most formal way that you can greet someone. That is how you would greet someone that you don't know, someone at work, someone that's older than you. It's the most respectful form. Here's one of the 2 nuances that's interesting that a lot of people don't realize. You see how it's spelt here with the Здравствуйте? Well, this te ending on the end here makes it formal and plural, but more importantly, in this case, it makes it formal. If you drop that off and go to Здравствуй, then it becomes less formal. Oftentimes, you'll hear this amongst friends that's in kind of a semi-formal setting, or they're not being as casual. They'll just say Здравствуй. The second nuance about this word is kind of cool. It's one of their little idioms that they say. You'll hear them go, no здравствуй, or they'll roll it all together and they'll go, no здрасте. That's just kind of all mushed in together there. And that just means, well, hello. We say that all the time, right? Hello. It just means like, are you kidding me? Well, or of course, or have you not seen that? No здрасте. So there's something you can use to just throw out there to a fun way of saying, well, hello, or of course. Okay, the second one I want to share with you is как дела? And this means, how are you? It's informal. You wouldn't normally say здравствуйте, как дела? Как дела literally means, how are you doing? And it's very informal. And unlike in English, it's a literal question. In English, it's very typical to start your conversations with, hi, how are you? And we don't literally mean, how are you? We don't really want to know how their day was or what was going on. We just want the common greeting, I'm fine. And then we move on. Well, in Russian, it's not like that. It's a literal question. They're like, okay, if you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you. When I was first over there, I didn't know that. I was like, whoa, I'm getting an earful here. I'm like, okay. So, как дела, informal, how are you? The more formal way to ask that, if you did want to know how someone was doing, but, maybe they were a little bit older, you didn't know them quite as well, you can throw in the more formal greeting, у вас. You can say, как у вас дела? In other words, you're saying, how are you? But throwing in the у вас there is asking, how are you? But on a more formal form. Like, hey, I want to know how you are, but I'm also showing you respect here. Okay. Another more formal way of greeting someone or making initial pleasantries with someone is you can say, Rad vas vidеть. I'm glad to see you. Rad vas vidеть. Again, we're using vas. It's the formal form of you put into the accusative case. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But Rad vas vidеть. I'm happy to see you. Another way of asking, how are you doing? Again, being a little more formal, showing a little bit more respect, is to use the verb поживать. Как вы поживаете? How are you getting along? How are you living? How are things going in your life? Как вы поживаете? Okay, now we're getting to the more informal forms. You may use this with family members, with friends, people that you know fairly well. And the first one is как жизнь? Как жизнь? And that is literally, how is life? Как жизнь? Another way you could ask that informally is как всё? How is everything? Как всё? Something else that you might want to ask them is что нового? What's new? Что нового? What's new? Here's a funny thing that you'll hear all the time. And when you say this as a foreigner, the Russians really kind of get a kick out of it that you know this. And it's как жизнь молодая. It's how is your young life? It's kind of sarcastic. It's a play on young life. But if you just say that, it's how are you, but it's kind of a funny way. And I've noticed that when I say that as a foreigner, especially when I'm talking to a Russian here in America, and I say, как жизнь молодая, they kind of laugh. They're like, how do you know that? And, of course, they give me their literal answer there, but it's a nice way of breaking the ice and letting them know that you do speak a level of Russian that they can open up to you and really converse with you. Okay, now we're getting into the very informal ones. These are the ones that you would use with close friends, family, definitely not people that you know on the street, people that are older than you, coworkers and whatnot. The first one you probably know is привет. That's the short form, hi, привет. Again, informal, not to be used with people that you don't know are older. The next one is one of my favorites. I had a friend over there, and his name was Dima. And every time he'd come up and greet me, this is how he'd greet me. He'd say, "Zdarov," which is like health, but it's just like, how you doing? It's very informal. It's very colloquial. It's just, I don't know what the literal translation is. Literally, it's, it's health, but it's like, how you doing? What's up? Maybe that's a good way of saying it. What's up? It's just like, what's up? And that's what you could use with your good friends. Zdarov. Okay, if you've watched it this far, I want to say spasiba, thank you. And I've got a special little tip for you, for those of you that didn't bail out at the beginning here. But before I give you that, smash that like button if you've learned anything in this video. I'd appreciate it. Spasiba. Okay, the last one, and the extra little bonus here for sticking to the end, is что с тобой. It's what's with you. Now, this can be a literal question like, if they're kind of mouthing off or they're on edge or they're just in a bad mood and you're like, this is not normally like, что с тобой? What's with you? It can also be kind of funny, if somebody's just being kind of outlandish, maybe they're a little drunk or something, что с тобой? And then you can also throw in the что с вами. That's the plural form. So if it's with everyone there, or if you don't know them quite as well, or someone that you do respect as being a little weird or something, you say, что с вами? What's with you? Okay, now that you've learned greetings, what you want to be mindful of when speaking to Russian so that you sound more native is to avoid the 10 common mistakes that all Russian learners make. I've got a video about that right here. Go watch that. You'll be just that much more closer to being native. Спасибо и увидимся.